alone today, having a little sip of whiskey. I realized last time I recorded that I can't really have sips of whiskey while I record because then there are these mouth sounds that are not all that great for a podcast. So I'm sitting next to a little glass of whiskey, but I'm not going to be drinking it while I record. How was your New Year's? My New Year's, it was great. We went to Mendocino as I thought we would and spent 2 nights there. It was really windy and at times rainy, but we did get some time outside and it was just lovely. We went out on the 31st and had a drink at a neighborhood bar there, downtown Fort Bragg, with the host of the Airbnb and her boyfriend and a couple of their friends, and it was just random and nice. They had a lot of different kinds of whiskey, and one of the folks there was a tattoo artist, so I got to talk shop for a minute. And, we came home and had just a sweet little evening on our own, stayed up till midnight or so, texted my mom and some friends, and the next day we took our time, kind of moseyed about, got an hour of a hot tub soak at a place there I think it's called Sweetwater Spa, right in Mendocino town. We rented a hot tub for just the two of us for an hour and had a really sweet little outdoor soak together, and then had a burger and a drink for dinner, kind of an early dinner. Watched the rest of White Lotus. It was pretty perfect. Didn't do too much spiritual work, but the whole thing felt spiritual enough. And then on Monday, it wasn't Monday. Yes, it was Monday. On Monday, it was the 2nd. We went to the cutest little coffee shop downtown Fort Bragg and, had our coffee and snacks, and went to an art gallery. I bought a new art piece, like a Black Madonna art piece for the shop that fits in just right, and went to Glass Beach, and it was just basically storming. So we ended up sitting in the car for probably about an hour, like sort of drying off our clothes and all dressed in pajamas with kind of like soaking clothes all over the car. It was just raining so hard, and my girlfriend, she bought a copy of Raina Maria Rilke's Letters to a Young Poet there at a bookstore that we stopped by the coffee shop. And so we read the book to each other while sitting in this glorious rainstorm. I think there was some hail involved too, and drinking a bottle of bubbly. So it was awesome. If you don't know the book, though, it's a classic. It's a bunch of letters that Rainer Maria Rilke, who is a German poet, wrote to a young poet who was writing to him. And it has that really famous quote that you'll see on people's fridges. I was so ready to read it to you. Now I have to find it. Here it is. You are so young, so much before all beginning, and I would like to beg you, dear sir, as well as I can, to have patience with everything unresolved in your heart, and to try to love the questions themselves as if they were locked rooms or books written in a very foreign language. Don't search for the answers, which could not be given to you now because you would not be able to live them, and the point is to live everything. Live the questions now. Perhaps then, someday far in the future, you will gradually, without even noticing it, live your way into the answer. It's so beautiful. There's just so many quotable quotes, so many bits and pieces. So it was a lovely way to start the new year. Tomorrow I'm getting tattooed, getting some more fill-in on my left arm, which is getting redone basically almost completely by my dear Hannah Wolf. She's filling it in block work, kind of blasting over what I have there already. And I go in to see her every 2 to 3 months. We just do a chunk of black, and it's pretty easy for me, and I like that. I'm not in a rush. So I'm getting tattooed tomorrow, And it's always good to be in the client's chair. It's always good to experience what I inflict upon my clients every single day. Also, I have a dentist appointment in the morning, so it's a mixed up kind of a day. But in the afternoon, I'm going to have a little chill time. One of the things I wanted to chat about is older skin and tattoos. So, as you may remember, right around Christmas time, the Monday after Christmas, 2022, I tattooed some really close folks of mine, my best friend and her family. And a couple of folks I tattooed are in their 70s. And they're both very, very active, very healthy people. They're, out and about all the time. They do all the things. So they're very healthy people in their 70s. But also they live in Hawaii, so their skin is exposed to the sun quite a bit more than, somebody in the Bay Area would be. And the couple different things that happened there was that I had done these kind of semi-matching tattoos for a bunch of the folks. And my best friend's mom, who is in her 70s, her tattoo, first they went on her ankle, so it was below her heart, like right at the ankle, so kind of blood pools in her legs. And she went first, and she decided not to get the cool colors in her sunsets. In her sunsets. Her sunset had just red, orange, yellow, and pink. And so when I tattooed her, because her skin is a little bit older and takes a little longer to settle, the whole thing looked kind of bruisey and red, pretty intense. And I said to her, don't worry, it's going to heal. It's going to take a little bit longer. And it's going to look, like these colors that we chose together, which is a lot of yellow, pink, orange, red. But it took a long time, a few days into her healing process. Everyone else's tattoo looked pretty normal already, but hers didn't. It still looked very bruisey and red, and she was very worried. And, I hate it when people have, anxiety about their healing tattoos. Like, it doesn't feel good, of course. But I was messaging with her, and I said, just be patient. It's going to be okay. You'll see, just, give it a little more time. And so about 10 days, maybe a week into healing time, I texted her again. And when we got back from our trip for New Year's, and I said, hey, I just want to check in on you. How are you doing? How's the tattoo? Is it looking better? And she's like, yes, it's looking better. You were right. And she sent me a picture. It looked fine. And she was like, well, maybe, when I come back to the mainland, I would like to add maybe some blues and purples. It's like, cool. Yeah, we could do that if you want to. But thank God, looks great. But yeah, she was worried, and that's something that, when I tattoo folks who are a little bit older, who are, past 65, is something to keep in mind and to tell them. It was an overwhelming day, so I don't feel like I had enough space to give all the information. And that day I was tattooing my afternoon client for about 3 hours, and then I did another 5 tattoos for my bestie's family. So each one took about 30 minutes. So yes, it was an overwhelming day, and I felt like I didn't have enough. It was my fault. Like I guess I didn't say enough about the different things that could happen. So her tattoo was good, and then his tattoo, her husband's tattoo, my bestie's stepdad's tattoo, was a script, and so black script with a bit of blue on his forearm. And not only is he in his 70s, he's also a very lean person, very, very muscular, very lean. He really has like no fat on his body. It's very minimal. So tattooing him, he got a lot of blowout. It didn't come up right away. It came up later after it healed up a little bit, which can also happen. Like the skin is so thin, the cell walls are really thin, and so they can break as you heal. So when we were done, he had a little bit of blowout. It was fine, it was minimal, but as it healed up, he had a bunch more blowout. And, understandably, he's bummed. And I do feel like I didn't give him enough information to prepare him for that possibility. And at the same time, it's, it's, yes, I didn't give enough information, and I feel bad about that. And also, it's like, it's just what it is. It's, tattoos are gonna heal and look different depending on where you are at in your life, what kind of skin you have, right? The pigment in your skin, how much damage sun damages your skin has had. All of that, is impacted by age. So it's not that I don't think that. I guess what I'm trying to say is that it's okay for a tattoo not to be perfect because of whatever factors, right? So I have tattoos on my body that were done by my friends who are not tattoo artists, who will never be tattoo artists, but I had them tattoo me because I love the idea of them being in my skin. So what I'm saying is that tattoos, they can be flawed. They can be flawed because of who did them or where they are or where your body is at, and it's okay. It's an amazing thing to have ink in your skin. It's an amazing thing to have something you chose put into your skin because you chose it, because you own it, because it's yours and it's your body, and you get to do whatever the fuck you want with it. Even as I feel for him, he is bummed about the blowout. I also feel like at some point he'll probably wake up and say, there's some blowout, so what, I have this cool tattoo. I'm an older dude, but I have tattoos. I'm a surfer, I work out, and I have tattoos, and they're a bit blown out because it's just how it is. That's my stance on that. The other thing I wanted to chat about is today I did a little piece. It's not little, it took me a couple hours to start it, and we're gonna spend another couple hours finishing it. But it's a forearm cuff of Ukrainian embroidery for a client who is Ukrainian, and it's it's something that I've had in my inbox the last year, is emails from young men of Ukrainian descent who want Ukrainian embroidery tattooed on their bodies. In fact, both of them, it's their first tattoo. Both of the folks I'm thinking about that I ended up tattooing. So today I tattooed the second person who wanted Ukrainian embroidery because of where he comes from, and of course spurred by the war on Ukraine by Russians. And we worked pretty hard on the design. It's like a of Ukrainian star / flower symbol, which is really common in Ukrainian embroidery. The border design that we thought was aesthetically pleasing, and he was really stoked about the design. So what I was going to say about it is I came home and I was texting with some folks, and I texted my cousin who is Ukrainian and is really knows a lot about Ukrainian culture. Texted her a picture of the tattoo, and I was like, hey, look, I did another one of these. Because last time around when we chatted about the first Ukrainian tattoo I did, she gave me some assistance with the symbolism of the different pieces that I ended up tattooing on my client. I just texted her and I said, hey, check out this piece I just did. And she was like, cool, yeah, interesting, I love it. And then she sent me a picture of this t-shirt that she found on Etsy. And what it is, it's a matryoshka doll, which is Russian, right? Okay, so it's a strictly Russian culture piece. This doll, matryoshka doll, it's the wooden dolls that fit each other, that fit the littler version of itself into itself. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. So it's a matryoshka doll. It's yellow and blue, which are Ukrainian colors. And across the center of it, it says, I stand with Ukraine. And at first glance, I was like, okay, cool. And she was like, it's so messed up that they did that. Like, that's to put this support for Ukraine onto a Russian symbol, like a symbol of Russian folklore. And I was like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, at first glance, I didn't even understand what, why she sent it to me, why it caught her attention. But then, of course, I was like, oh my God, you're right. And she was like, it's just so inappropriate, and they're probably also making money off of it. And I was like, yeah, you're right. It's messed up. And also, people are making money on every terrible thing that's happening in the world. White people specifically. I mean, all sorts of people, but white people specifically are making money on all kinds of atrocities in the world. from like literal war money that they're making to like the same shit, t-shirts and mugs and things that say like support this cause, or it's just like empty, things that people make so they can make some money. Yeah, and I was like, most people probably just associate this doll with anything in Eastern Europe, like Ukraine, Russia. It's all, for most people, like they don't understand their separate cultures with separate symbols and separate folklore. And even if they do, they wouldn't necessarily know that this doll is a very specifically Russian thing. So yeah, she said, right, I assumed that too. And I was like, well, also beyond that, there are a lot of Russian people who are supporting Ukraine, who are in support of Ukraine, of course. And hopefully some of these proceeds from the sales of these shirts will go to some organization in Ukraine that's helping with the, fighting back efforts. She was like, okay, yeah, thanks for the perspective, but also I just feel like it's like putting Jewish stars on like Nazi uniforms or Nazi flag. And I mean, that's pretty an intense comparison, but like I can see how upset she is. And yes, it's what's happening is very intense, and perhaps the comparison is apt because Russians are basically flattening Ukraine. It's fucked up, it's wild, and it's genocide. She expressed the sentiment that someday she would like Ukrainian culture to be perceived apart from the USSR and the overall like Russianness of like what we here in the West are familiar with. And I absolutely agree. In the end, it's all just capitalism. Capitalism is the worst evil in this world. I think capitalism is what creates everything else. It's people who have some power preferring profit over people. And the war of Russia against Ukraine is a really big expression of this evil of capitalism, and this shirt shit is the very small expression of the same thing of capitalism. I hate to leave on a rough note like this, but it is time for me to wrap this up. I have to get up early tomorrow. I tend to do these late in the evening probably because I'm procrastinating, but I wait because I get nervous. What am I gonna say? How is it gonna go? Gotta get in the zone. So I wait. But I mean, it's the very beginning of this journey. I am sure that it's gonna change and shift, and the way that I do this will shift, and perhaps I'll start doing them in the morning sometimes. Maybe I will. It's super rainy here in San Francisco, or Bay Area, in Oakland rather. I'm in Oakland, not in San Francisco. Wherever you are, I hope that you are safe and warm, and be kind to each other. Yeah, be kind out there. And the thing I ask my guests, what's a small thing that's been making you happy lately? Well, I mean, honestly, the thing that's been making me happy lately is this podcast. I have been really, really excited about making it and putting it up and having people listen, and just trying to get it out there. If you are listening, please review, subscribe. It really helps. I can't wait to get some ears onto this podcast that I don't know, the folks that I'm not familiar with. I'm so grateful for all of you who listen, who I do know. I'm so grateful, and I love you. And I mean, that's who I'm making it for, is you. And of course, I want to get as many ears as possible on the podcast of people I don't know yet, so that I can know them at some point, through small or big ways. Whenever you listen, I hope you have a lovely day, or a beautiful morning, or a sweet dreamed night. Until next time, I'm out.